What if I told you that the most powerful force controlling humanity right now isn't a government, a corporation, or even an ideology, but a lie so subtle, so deeply embedded into our minds that we not only accept it, we defend it. A lie that has shaped our education, our relationships, our ambitions, our fears, and even our understanding of ourselves. This isn't a conspiracy theory. It's something more dangerous than that. It's something we've all agreed to without realizing it. I'm talking about the biggest deception ever created to control humanity, the illusion that freedom means comfort. We've been told that freedom is the ability to choose. But what if that's not true? What if real freedom isn't about choices, but about awareness? You see, if I give you 100 options, all within the same system, are you really free? Or are you just distracted? Modern life gives us endless choices: what to wear, what to watch, what to order, who to follow. But none of these choices are existential. They don't challenge the structure. They don't wake you up. They pacify you. And that's the deception. We aren't being imprisoned by force, we're being lulled into submission by comfort. We're not being silenced, we're being entertained. And the worst part is, we like it. But do you ever stop and ask, at what cost?
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound insights.
Think about it. We wake up, scroll through curated feeds, chase productivity, and call it progress. But progress toward what? Toward a deeper life, or just toward better distractions? We've confused stimulation with meaning. And that confusion is not accidental. It's engineered, because a distracted mind is a controllable mind. A comfortable population is a compliant one. And when we stop asking the big questions, who am I really? Why am I here? Am I free? We become exactly what the system wants us to be: obedient, predictable, manageable. Have you ever had a moment where you felt deeply dissatisfied, even though everything seemed fine? That's not failure. That's your soul resisting the lie. This is where philosophy becomes not just helpful, but essential. The ancient philosophers didn't seek comfort, they sought truth. Even if it hurt, even if it cost them their lives. Socrates drank poison rather than betray his inner voice. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet wrote in his journal about the emptiness of power and praise. These were not comfortable men. They were awake. And that's the real danger of the modern deception. It doesn't kill you with violence. It kills you with comfort. It makes you forget that your life is supposed to mean something more than consumption and convenience. So I ask you now, are you living your life, or are you just maintaining it? And here's the scariest part. We think we're the ones in control. We think we're the ones making choices. But when your choices are designed by algorithms, when your desires are shaped by advertising, when your fears are manufactured by media, how much of you is really you? When was the last time you had an original thought, not a reaction, not an opinion you read somewhere, but a thought born of silence, of discomfort, of solitude? If you can't remember, that's by design. The system isn't broken. It's working perfectly. It was never meant to liberate you. It was meant to simulate liberation just enough to keep you from rebelling. But this is just the beginning, because once you see the illusion, you can't unsee it. And once you ask the right questions, the entire structure begins to tremble. So stay with me. In the next part, we're going to go even deeper into the architecture of this deception. how it was built, why it works, and most importantly, how to break free. If the biggest deception ever created to control humanity is the illusion that comfort equals freedom, then the next question is, who built that illusion? And how did it become so globally accepted, so woven into every part of our existence that we no longer see it as illusion, but as reality? To answer that, we must understand that this system was not built overnight, and it was not built by a single villain twirling a mustache in some dark tower. Instead, it evolved through institutions, traditions, incentives, and fears until it became invisible, like a labyrinth with no walls, a prison with no bars, a story so old and repeated that we mistake it for truth. Let's go back. Before industrialization, before the digital age, human beings lived closer to nature, to hardship, and therefore ironically closer to meaning. Life was not easy, but it was real. You felt the cold. You grew your food. You knew the people around you. And most importantly, you knew what death looked like. You couldn't escape it. And because death was near, life had weight. But then came the machine, and the promise of efficiency, the promise of mass productivity. And soon, we began to trade depth for speed. We began to trade community for convenience. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, we stopped asking, what is good? And started asking, what works? And it did work for a while. Comfort increased. Life expectancy rose. Technology flourished. But along with it came a new kind of danger, spiritual apathy. But we no longer lived in fear of dying, we lived in fear of discomfort. And that shift right there was the turning point. Because once comfort became our highest value, we became infinitely controllable. All anyone had to do to gain power over us was offer us ease, offer us security, offer us the promise of never having to be alone with our thoughts. And we said yes again and again. We said yes to screens, to subscriptions, to surveillance, to noise. All in exchange for one thing we didn't even realize we were losing, ourself. And here's where it gets even more insidious. The system learned to adapt. It learned to exploit our biology. Dopamine, novelty, validation. The same chemicals that once helped us survive in the wild are now weaponized to keep us obedient in the digital realm. Notifications, likes, ads, trends, they don't just distract us. They train us. They teach us what to desire, what to fear, what to ignore. And the worst part, we participate. We willingly hand over our time, our attention, our data because we're addicted to the illusion. We're not just being deceived, we are deceiving ourselves. When was the last time you chose silence over stimulation, solitude over scrolling, reflection over reaction? But let's be clear, this isn't about rejecting technology or modern life. It's about seeing it, waking up inside it. Because only when you see the pattern can you begin to break it. And that's what the system fears most, not rebellion, but awareness. A person who is aware cannot be manipulated. The person who sees the illusion for what it is becomes dangerous, not with violence, but with vision. They start asking questions that tear at the fabric of control. Who am I beneath the roles I play? What do I value that can't be monetized? What does it mean to live a good life if no one is watching, liking, or approving? These questions are not just philosophical, they are revolutionary. because they threaten the very foundation of the control system, mass unconsciousness. And the moment you begin asking them not just once, but daily, you begin the process of liberation. Not external liberation, but internal, the kind that no one can give you. The kind that no system can counterfeit. The kind that can only come from one terrifying, beautiful truth: you are responsible for your soul. No algorithm can save you. No influencer can lead you there. You have to walk into the labyrinth yourself. And in the next part, I'm going to show you the way out. If you've made it this far, you already know we are not just living in a world of deception, we are living through it. The system doesn't just distract us, it defines us. It tells us who we are, what we should want, what success means, what failure looks like. And we follow these scripts like actors in a play we never auditioned for. We go to school not to learn how to think, but how to obey. We get jobs not to serve our calling, but to pay our debts. We chase status not because it fulfills us, but because it keeps us from feeling invisible. And the tragedy is, we think this is normal. But I ask you now, who benefits from your obedience to a life that doesn't belong to you? To escape the labyrinth, we must first admit that we're in one. That's the hardest part, because it means realizing that much of what we've built our identity on, our achievements, our status, even our dreams, may be rooted in someone else's blueprint, someone else's fear, someone else's profit. And once we see that, we're faced with a terrifying but liberating truth. We must unbecome who we were trained to be. Not to reject everything, but to re-examine everything, and to hold it up to the light of our own consciousness. Is this belief mine? Is this desire mine? Is this fear truly mine, or was it installed there to keep me tame? You don't escape the system by running from it. You escape it by seeing through it. By becoming so aware that the noise can no longer control your signal, but that when an ad flashes across your screen, you recognize the manipulation. That when a social trend demands your allegiance, you pause and ask, why? That when comfort seduces you, you ask whether it's actually peace or just sedation. That's what the philosophers called waking up. Not in some mystical sense, but in the most practical, dangerous, and beautiful way possible. Waking up means taking responsibility for your own mind, your own time, your own soul. But here's the part no one tells you. Waking up is painful. It's lonely. It's uncomfortable. Because suddenly you no longer fit. You no longer laugh at what others laugh at. You no longer crave what others crave. You begin to feel like a stranger in your own culture. But that discomfort, that is the sign you're on the right path. Because truth is not where crowds gather, it's where silence lives. And in that silence, you get to ask the real questions. What would I do if I wasn't afraid? Who would I be if I stopped performing? What would I create if I didn't need to be approved of? These aren't questions the system wants you to ask, but they are exactly the questions that will set you free. So here's the challenge I leave you with. Don't just consume this video. Live it. Start with small rebellions. Turn off your phone for a day. Sit in silence for an hour. Say no to something that doesn't align with your soul. Read something that doesn't trend. Disagree publicly with something that everyone blindly accepts. These are not acts of defiance. They are acts of remembrance. You are not here to comply. You are not here to be liked. You are not here to play a role. You are here to wake up, to live deliberately, to die conscious. And if enough of us do that, the system will no longer need to be overthrown. It will simply become irrelevant, because the awakened cannot be controlled. Thank you for walking through the labyrinth with me. The deception may be vast, but your awareness is vaster. And now that you've seen it, you can never unsee it. Use that vision wisely.